Welcome back, guys. So, as you had recently heard, my trip to Zhangjiajie and trip throughout China, this summer trip where I had to write three essays, three 15-page essays, and I had to go 12 days throughout all these different places, wonderful places, but it rained every single day. Anyway, so I've been talking about my China summer trip. I finished talking about the first leg of the trip, so I'll go ahead and move on to the second leg of the trip. We were ending off in Zhangjiajie, finishing Tianmen Mountain that I already talked about. Great place, again, always recommend it. Anyway, on to the second leg of our trip. Going from Zhangjiajie, we went to a place that was really, I guess because I planned the trip, there was one place that I really wanted to go. No one had really much interest in going to this place. But I think I persuaded everyone because it looked like a really cool ancient town. So the place is called Fenghuang, and it's like an ancient city. I don't know the historical facts about it, but maybe I can look it up as I'm editing this. So we decided to go to Fenghuang, and to get there, I think it was it was a 6-hour bus ride from Zhangjiajie to Fenghuang. Now, that trip, I remember I was sitting next to Elena on that bus ride, and I remember it would just alternate between me and her feeling nauseous throughout the entire trip. So I get pretty car sick sometimes, especially if I'm sitting in the back seat. And again, I mentioned like going through these winding roads. They go at like 30 miles an hour, 40, 50 kilometers an hour. And they're whipping through these like insane mountain roads at high speeds. So obviously your head's shaking and everything, and I feel so sick. So I remember I felt really sick on that one, and I was just trying to close my eyes and sleep. And then I would feel better, and then Elena would start feeling car sick because I guess she feels car sick too. And we would just be like alternating, like, you can do it. And then, oh, no, I can't. You can do it. So we finally made it to Fenghuang. And Fenghuang was cool vibes. It was like very, very touristy, to be honest. I wouldn't say foreigner tourist in terms of like Westerners or something like that. But I think there's a lot of like, mainland Chinese tourists or maybe in Eastern Asia. Just like a very common tourist spot because I think it's hard to get to for a lot of foreigners. So maybe only people that are living in China would go there. But it's a very touristy spot nonetheless. So as you can see from the pictures, it's like a beautiful, ancient looking city, but also at night, it's like nightclubs and bars and all of that. So it's kind of a strange vibe where it looks really ancient, but then you have like, rave music and kind of stuff or like, weird mix of cultures. It was good. We walked around, enjoyed it. I remember out of the whole trip, in contrast to Zhangjiajie, which had an amazing hostel, this one had one of the worst. I personally don't mind bad hostels. I don't mind bugs or roaches or anything. This one, I think maybe there was one or two. When I stayed in Shanghai, there was a problem. But anyway, that's not this trip. So it was just really kind of dirty, kind of hostel. But it got the job done, and we stayed in 2 separate rooms, and it was a good experience. So yeah, it was pretty fun. I think by this time, so again, I mentioned that it was 6 of us. So we had my friend from Finland, Eustace, me, Elena from Italy, Aisha from India, David from Argentina, and Leonard from the Netherlands. We all traveled. I remember Eustace had to go first, I think, because he needed to go with his dad, I think, to Yunnan. Anyway, so I think we were down to 5 at that point, where it was Leonard, David, and I, and then Elena and Aisha. So we just separated boys and girls into 2 separate rooms. So we finally got to Fenghuang. Sorry, Eustace, if you were there. I apologize. I remember you left either there or Guilin. I remember the girls left in Guilin. We only stayed there one night, and the staff was very friendly there, and it had a cool lobby vibe. I think they had a cafe or something. Anyway, Yeah, so we walked around there and it was an enjoyable experience, you know, shops, stuff like that. Pretty night vibe where there's a river that goes through it, as you guys have already seen. And there's like little stepping stones that you can hop across the river. We would do that, just talking, hanging out. Yeah, not too much in terms of special memories for that one, but it was a great place to be. The next day was eventful. So we spent the morning in Fenghuang. We were leaving Fenghuang and we took a bus from there, I believe. I don't know if I guess it must have been in the afternoon because we were supposed to arrive at the Longji rice fields, which is like a really pretty rice terrace around like midnight. And so we got on a bus, another like long 6-hour, 7-hour kind of bus. And then we finally arrived. We're like, okay, great. And then I remember looking on the map before we got there, like, it doesn't feel like we're very close. And then we get out of the bus and we were in a random city in the middle of nowhere. No way to get to Guilin. And we were like, well, what do we do? So there was a little bit of panic on that part. My Mandarin, it tends, in that group, I acted as the translator for that group. So I would kind of help everyone get along in terms of like navigating and stuff like that, or I would work out navigation stuff. And so at that moment, I think I was a little bit panicked. I remember someone else, I think, was able to talk with the bus driver or help us out. Probably Aisha, because I know she also knows Mandarin. But yeah, so the bus driver was super nice there, even though we were in a random city. And I think he called his friend or something and got a taxi coming. And the taxi brought us another, I think it was like 2+ hours out of the way to finally get to our destination. So we went really far off. But we finally got to Guilin at like midnight, 1 a.m. And we arrived, and actually the hotel that we stayed at was in the rice fields, which is pretty cool. So like imagine if there's a national park and then you know how usually people stay like hotels outside of it. The hostel was inside. And that one was a good one. I remember I thought that the toilet in that one, the toilet was right under the shower. And I was so impressed that you could use the bathroom and take a shower at the same time. So we talked about that a lot. I was young and stupid, don't judge me. Anyway, we finally got there after a really long day. We were exhausted and went to bed, and then there was the next day. Next day, we wake up, like 8 a.m. kind of thing, so not too early. And I'm like, okay. So as I mentioned at the start of the first video, I had to write 3 essays, right? So I had written one of my 15-page papers on the train ride, and then I write a little bit of the second one as I went through the trip. So the second one, I decided I'm gonna write that morning. So I had maybe written some more pages of it earlier on. And so my friends were like, okay, we're gonna go out to the rice fields and they're gonna go explore and enjoy it. And then I was like, all right, guys, have fun. I have to write my essay. So I'm gonna stay here until maybe like 1 p.m. So 5 hours is good enough time to start getting a little bit of that essay done. And then I'll go ahead and join you guys. So finished writing around 1 p.m. and I was like, oh, such a relief. And then I went up the hill. It's probably like a 30-minute hike up the hills, walk, not really a hike, up a, normal path. You're passing all the rice terraces and you finally get to like a good viewpoint. And I get there and I was just like, oh, like it's, as I've been mentioning, it rains every day there. So when I finally got to that viewpoint, it was rainy and cloudy and I couldn't see anything. So I was pretty disappointed and I was like, man, I remember there's like a little like local shop or cafe or something nearby. So I just kind of sat on the rice terraces, just on the ground, just like chilling there. I went to the cafe and I was just like, let me just sit here and maybe I'll get lucky and it'll clear up. And 30 minutes to an hour after, the clouds went away for like 10-15 minutes and I had the beautiful view of the Longji rice fields all by myself, and it was just a wonderful, amazing experience. And I was so thankful for that, and I remember just feeling so happy that the morning I knocked out my essay, and then in the afternoon I got to see these beautiful rice fields, and I made the right decision for just staying and waiting and being patient and viewing these beautiful rice fields. So at that time, I'm like, okay, it's like 2:30. We said we were going to meet back here at 2:30 p.m. or something like that to go to the next place. So I get back to the hostel, 2:30 passes, and they're not there. So I'm like, okay, maybe they're just a little late or something. So I think I played pool by myself or something. Every hostel has a pool table, as you guys might know. And an hour later, they all arrive like sweaty, dirty, bloody. It's like, what the hell happened? And what had happened was they accidentally took a farmer's path. So like you have the kind of touristy path. It's not a very touristy area in the sense of you don't have like concrete roads. It's still dirt roads. But they took one that was like at a 45-degree angle and just went like directly up into the mountains. And so they had made this wrong turn and they got all like dirty, and it was like the most intense trip, and they would like fall every 10 feet because it was muddy and all that. And I just remember they all came back and I just seeing their faces of misery. I felt very bad for them, but I was like, okay, I'm glad I did my essay that morning. But what they did is they went and they got showered and all that, and then we finally took our bus. Guilin it's on their $20 bill, I think, and it's a very famous area. We took a taxi to Guilin, and the one thing I really don't like about China, two things I don't like about China, I'll cover one now, is bargaining. I hate bargaining and I hate like negotiating. I just want it to be like, you want $30? Here's $30. You want this much? Take this much. And the taxi driver that we took from the Longji rice fields to Guilin, it was nighttime, again like 11 p.m. So it's just us foreigners going, and we get to the edge of Guilin, and we had already agreed on a price. We're like, okay, let's do $30 to get to Guilin or something like that. And then he's like, okay, I'm here. And I'm like, what? And then he starts saying that $30 was to get to Guilin. If we want to go to the hotel, we have to pay extra. So he was a major. Don't take that taxi driver. Be careful. If someone says, oh, I'll pay this much to go here, make sure that you specify where. Also make sure that when you get in a taxi in Beijing, that you have them put the counter on, right? So when you get in a taxi, sometimes they'll start driving, and if they don't put the ticker that goes like, 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents kind of thing. If they don't put that down, then when you arrive at your destination, they might be like, that's $50 kind of thing. I knew that before I went, so I'd always make sure when I got in a taxi to ask them to put it on if they didn't. So yeah, just be aware of that. If you're a tourist going to China, make sure you ask them to do that. So I hated bargaining, and that was annoying, and we all hated him. So it cost like probably $40 or $50 instead of $30. Not a huge deal. It's just the idea of like ripping someone off in that way. Got to our hostel. I think it was okay. I don't remember. I actually don't remember that hostel at all. But anyway, we got to that city, and more unfortunate things happened the next day. So the next day, we wanted to go on the river that you'll see from like the famous Guilin hills or mountains, whatever you call them. But it was raining so much that the river had flooded over, so there were no boats going out. So we couldn't go to that famous strip. So instead what we did, which was actually I really enjoyed, was I think the girls decided to stay in or do something else because they didn't want to, but Leonard, David, and I, we got bicycles and we just biked around the area. Got some snacks or whatever, and it was a really great experience. So you don't need to go to the big river to see these things. They're all over that area. So yeah, it was just a fun, nice bike ride, and in the end, it worked out and it was an enjoyable experience. When we finally finished from Guilin, we had to go to the city of Guilin. So there's Guilin, which is like where you see all those mountain things, and then like 30 minutes away is the actual city, Guilin City. Because Guilin is like a prefecture, like a province. So in Guilin, you can go to those mountains, those hills, and then we went into the city. We just went to the city. Oh God, I remember. Okay, I remember the hostel now. So before we had to go to the city, we needed to do laundry. So we were like, okay, we're traveling for 12 days. We're going to be walking a ton of places. So we're just going to pack backpacks worth of clothes. We're really trying to pack as little as we can. So, like 3 outfits kind of thing. And we're like, we have to do laundry. So the night before, we knew that they had a laundry machine. So we washed all of our laundry. And then, as you might be familiar with, in a lot of places in China, my university had a dryer, for example. But when I was living in Taiwan, for example, or here, right, you have to hang dry your clothes. So it was like 6 p.m. and the night before, and we washed our clothes and we hung it up. And then the next day, wow. The next day, all the clothes were still soaking wet. So we had to take our clothes in like a big trash bag to Guilin City. And it was like super heavy, watery, nasty clothes. I mean, they were clean in a sense. Anyway, we finally got to Guilin City, and that hotel was a lot nicer. Not fancy or anything, but still a hostel, I think. And they did laundry there. But the issue is they do laundry by weight. And so all the laundry we had in this trash bag was soaking wet laundry. So normally what would have cost like $3 or $4 was like $20 or $30 because of all the water weight. It weighed like 10 or 15 kilograms. So they had to do like 4 loads of laundry. And then I remember that when the laundry was finally done and we had to go the next day, they had only done like 1 out of 3 loads. They cleaned all 3 of them, but only 1 of them was fully dry, which was mine. Sorry, Leonard and David. Their clothes were not ready. That was funny, and I enjoyed it, but they didn't. Yeah, and then also in that situation, we played pool. Leonard was good at pool, I remember. It was always fun and competitive. I think all of us in our friend group, we would love to like hang out, drink a beer or something, play pool. Just a really great, enjoyable experience. If you guys have never stayed in a hostel and you're still willing to do so, I recommend traveling throughout the country and doing that. That would be a lot of fun. Yeah, so we played pool, hung out in the city of Guilin. I think we just got food there. There's nothing we wanted to see there. It was kind of like a day rest before we moved on to the next leg of our trip. And at that point was when Aisha and Elena went back to Beijing. I don't remember why. Maybe they just didn't want to go to the rest of it, but we had pre-planned this. So then we said bye to them there. They flew back to Beijing. Maybe they had something going on. And then Leonard, David, and I went and continued the rest of this trip to Guangzhou, to Macau, and Hong Kong. And those 3 places I will save for the third part of the video. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this story, and I will see you next episode for the third part of this story. All right. So have a great day, and I hope you're excited to see the wonderful finale of this. There are still more drama and a lot more failures to come. So I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.